Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. This afternoon I am outside. It is a little bit windy. We've got a few kind of small cell storms around, so there might be a little bit of wind on this video. But one of the reasons why I wanted to do a video is just to try out my new camera that I have. I picked up a new vlogging camera and I want to see how it looks in the garden, how the sound quality is. So I'm going to head down to the garden in a sec and give you just a little bit of an overview of some of the things that are happening down there, some wins and some fails of what's going on. And I've also got a few things in the garden that I want to harvest, so I'm going to go and grab my basket and we'll head down there. Alright, the basket is actually full of potatoes, so I need to take all these out. Alright, have said basket. I've really missed coming out in the afternoons and walking through the garden to see what I can pick for dinner and bringing you guys along with me. It's been a really busy few days where I've just been coming out and just picking things and going straight back in the house and not actually being present outside and enjoying all of what the garden has to provide for me. Not only just the food, but also the beauty around me, the birds, the fresh air, all of it is super important. And I've been really busy with obviously finishing my thesis, and I was also really lucky to run a workshop at my university, which I ran alongside traditional owners about Indigenous engagement in research. But that took up a lot of my spare time, pretty much all of it. So the garden is a little bit neglected, and also my health. I've definitely been neglecting that a little bit. I do try to eat a fairly anti-inflammatory diet, and that's because of some autoimmune problems that I have that cause quite bad eczema. I've spoken about it a little bit before, but it is something that I really struggle with. And this afternoon I really wanted to make a gorgeous pumpkin soup, so I'm going to pick a few things from the garden for that. Pumpkin soup is definitely a staple in our household, and we actually have so many more pumpkins, again from the exact same vine that I've been harvesting. Probably, I don't know, maybe about 20 pumpkins we've had off that one vine so far. It kind of just keeps dying back and then growing and then dying back, but it still is producing some gorgeous pumpkins. But we did also get some more in our food box that we get delivered every week from Food Connect. So I'm going to use some of the stuff from that box, and we'll pick some leeks, and I'm going to use potatoes from the garden in the soup this afternoon. I've also got a bunch of cucumbers that I need to pick. But before we get harvesting, I'm going to share with you something sad that happened this week. And if you follow my Instagram account, you will have seen this. And I usually don't share things that much on Instagram. It's not really the platform for me. I'm starting to try a little bit more, but I just prefer YouTube overall. But I'll share with you now what happened this week. So I'm standing next to my flower bed that I planted quite a few videos ago, and I've been kind of filling it in here and there, and my intention was to have kind of a tiered garden bed, so taller plants up the back and then gradually coming down to smaller plants. And it was working fantastic until we had a visit from some cockatoos, which come really early in the morning, too early for me because the sun is rising a lot earlier now. And what they've done is, I had a row of sunflowers here that they've just chopped them off. I'll show you up close exactly what they do. They've also done the same thing to my corn over there, but this is what happened to the sunflowers. And what they do is, because they want the sunflower head, I had a few that were in full bloom and were just absolutely stunning. They know the sunflower head is up here, but they can't stand on anything. There's no branches or anything for the larger birds, cockatoos are quite large, to put their weight on. So what they do instead, they go to the base of the plant. So they go down here and they just snip it off with their beak. They just chop it off. And they've done that to the majority of them all along there. They've also come along to the corn, which I don't know what they wanted with the corn because they weren't going to get anything. But you can see here these large beak marks here where they've just chopped it off. So overall, pretty depressing. It could have either been cockatoos or king parrots around. I have seen cockatoos do this before, and a lot of the other larger birds. So I'm not too sure how to deal with it because there's not really too much I can do except just plant a lot of them. But I'm hoping with this corn that they leave that alone from now on. Something else that's been happening in the garden lately is I've been seeing a lot of leaf curl on some of the plants. I'm not exactly too sure what this is from, and I'm slightly concerned because a lot of the plants, and I'll put a little overlay of what some of them are looking like, are just looking really sad. And there's a little sad story about what might be happening. And I'm not going to get into a lot of the details and go on this topic for too long, but it's something that I just wanted to bring up in case any of you are experiencing this yourselves. A part of growing in this garden is that it's not our land. Scott and I don't own this land, so we don't have full control over the different chemicals that are used on this property. I am an organic gardener. I love organic gardening, trying to figure out the problem of things and how to work on that rather than introducing really harsh chemicals. And I'm well aware that there are a time and place for those in this world, but in the backyard, I personally don't think they should be used. Part of that is when you create permaculture style gardens, and this one particular, I want to be creating as much biodiversity as possible to do a lot of the jobs that nature does in forests and native ecosystems. And when you introduce weed killer and weed sprays into that system, you essentially take away a lot of that biodiversity that is working in your favor. So lately, because of some things like even organic weed killer and some other chemicals that have been used around the place, I've seen a real decline in the pollinators in my garden, and I've just seen things change unnaturally, I suppose, which I think some of it is due to residue of different sprays. So you can imagine it's quite upsetting to be really trying my best and create such a biodiverse and living environment, and then to have harsh chemicals introduced to that is really detrimental. So you can imagine it's a little bit upsetting, and I'm processing that, understanding that again, this is not my land. I don't have any control over what happens here. But I think just reminding people about the impact of a lot of different sprays when you're spraying around a vegetable garden, just reminding people about the impacts that may have, that you may have an overall decrease in yield. And if you are noticing things like a real severe decline in pollinators from one day to another, it might be an indication that someone has sprayed around in your area, and I'm really sorry if you are experiencing that. I just want to say also, this is in no way an excuse of why I don't have lots of fruit and vegetables to harvest or why my plants aren't doing amazing. Of course, it's to do with how I've been tending to my plants as well. I just have noticed a few different things in the garden, and I've noticed a lot of dead plants right around my vegetable garden, and having chemicals directly next to food that you eat doesn't really mix too well in my mind. Okay, enough of that kind of talk. I need to harvest some cucumbers. There are quite a few in here. They smell so delicious. So this is a green supermarket, I can't actually remember the name of it, long green supermarket variety. They're really great because they don't have a lot of seeds inside, but they do have, like a lot of other cucumbers, these spikes on them, and these are really easy to get rid of. You literally just have to brush the cucumber and they come off. They don't hurt at all, it's just a natural defense mechanism for the fruit to ward away from pests and animals. So yeah, there's a lot more cucumbers on the plants, but I'm just going to take these 3 probably just to have as a side or on toast in the morning. When I used to eat dairy, I can't really stomach it at the moment, but I used to have cucumber and melted cheese on toast with mixed herbs on top. I used to have it almost every morning. I definitely recommend trying it if you haven't tried it. I know it sounds weird, but it's super delicious. Right, I've also got some leeks that I need to pick from the other garden, which is looking a little bit sad. And I have a story to tell you about my first garden that I created that I'll include in another video. But the short story is that I'm not planting anymore in here because this is being turned into something else completely non-garden related. That is a nice sized leek. This is actually a bed that I'm going to be planting some okra in. And I know you can't quite see me, but because a lot of these leek scraps are going to go straight in the compost anyway, and this needs a little bit more nitrogen, I'm just going to lay all of these on top of here just to provide a little bit more mulch. And all of this is just going to compost in place. Right, I just need to grab some chives as the last ingredient that I need from the garden this afternoon. I thought I would just give you a little bit of an update on how some of these seedlings are going that I planted in, I think it was a video titled Planting Loads of Seedlings or something like that. Some of them are here behind me, and I'll put an overlay on the screen now of what they are looking like. The corn is doing amazing. The corn is just growing so well right now in the subtropics. It's really nice and warm, and we've been having all of this lovely rain, so the corn is loving that. I've also planted a row of dahlias that has doubled in size, and some straw flowers or paper daisies are also doing well. So I'm glad that a lot of the new seedlings are enjoying their new home, and I might have to propagate some of the okra because all of the okra seeds that I planted in the bed behind me have germinated, which is great. So now I have one extra plant in each hole. Okra grows quite big, so I don't really want 2 of them growing so close to each other. But I think I'm going to take all of this food up to the kitchen, grab some herbs, and then make some dinner. I don't really follow a recipe. My style of cooking is often very much like this, that I'll just kind of throw things in that I think will taste okay, and usually most of the time it turns out okay. But if you want to make this recipe, you can kind of follow along with the video. So I hope you enjoyed this little walk around the garden, a few little garden updates. few chats here and there about what's going on. And I just want to say a massive big thank you to everyone who has lately subscribed and is joining this little garden community. I really appreciate it, and I read all of the comments that I get on the videos and try to reply to as many as possible. But pressing the thumbs up, liking these videos and subscribing really does help support me, and there's always some links in the description box if you would like to support even further. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy this little recipe.